Hello, everyone. We are back again for another podcast. Um, this time, we're going to be talking about overcoming personal darkness. This is going to be a more vulnerable uh, podcast than we've been doing, but we're going to have a lot of, advice and resources, and we know that in sharing this information, many of you will be able to relate, and it might show you that we're not just sitting up here in a saintly position trying to teach you all how to be perfect human beings like us, because by no means are we perfect human beings. So we have our own personal darkness, and that's what we're talking about today. So
yeah, personal darkness. So we're just going to be just talking today, really, and there's no real formal outline that we're using. And if you caught our last podcast we just did on mental health and addiction, so this ties into that. And so again, we're just going to start rolling and talk and offer some advice and feedback, but sharing some stories. So do you want to kind of share a little bit about kind of what you've gone through in your life?
Yeah. So in my short 28 years of life, I have dealt with a lot. I've been in positions where I was so far from God, I put tattoos on my body about it. So I guess I don't want to give you my entire, biography here, but just speaking generally, I moved around as a kid, and we're not talking about we just moved from one side of town to the other side of town or one city to another city in the same state. We moved across the country when I was little. So I went to private school over there. Over here, went to a public school for a little bit. I was still somewhat young, so it was easier to make friends at that point. And then we moved again, not too far away, but into a different school district. I lost all my friends. And again, a little older, so maybe a little bit harder to make friends. It was another private school. I found a really good friend. And then halfway through seventh grade, for whatever reason, or I shouldn't say for whatever reason, for a lot of different reasons, we went to a public school in that same school district, but this was different than the public school that I had gone to before. So it wasn't like I was going to re-meet some of my friends from there. And this was, again, halfway through seventh grade. Middle school is a tough time anyway. To move halfway through a grade was even tougher. I really struggled. And middle school's hard for everybody. There was a lot of bullying behavior, a lot of mean girl behavior. And again, I wasn't perfect. I certainly participated in that. And that led into high school. High school was, I was so mentally ill in high school. From certain things that had gone on previously, and I'll back up. In middle school, when I got to this new middle school, there was an incident of stalking and some other things that I can't say the word, but some sort of inappropriate contact types of things and inappropriate things that went on. There was in high school, that kind of led me to be a little bit more out of control in that way, because I had been in private school. I had no experience with having male attention, and so having that experience and being like, oh, I'm a piece of meat then, I guess. I was out of control. I ended up
spiraled into
I ended up talking to people on the internet who were significantly older than me. I was like 16 at the time, and I had met a 30-year-old who drove out here. And I stayed with him in a hotel. My parents ended up finding out about that, and thank God for them putting the kibosh to it the second time that he was going to drive down this way. Only like a few people who were close friends with me at the time knew about this. And I was just, if you caught our last episode, I talked about being invincible. I really thought at that point, I was like, I hate myself enough anyway. I'm mentally ill. I am out of control already at 16. So whatever, I don't care. And that carried over into any of the activities that I did that I actually really enjoyed, it followed me. It really, and thinking back now, I wish I had known how manic I was being in those situations, because I probably would have walked away with a better experience. Um, because I part of me wants to say I had fun, and then part of me is severely embarrassed and feeling shame about the way that I was acting during those times. And if you know me from those times, I'm sorry that you knew me from those times. I am a completely different person now. Many of you know, because many of us are Facebook friends, and we're all parents, and we all had our own demons. But yeah, so there was that. Once I graduated, I was able to go to college, and my first experience kind of being independent after many, many years of mental illness, many, many years in high school of trying to unalive myself and all of this, really crazy, crazy stuff. I had my first real experience with independence. I thought I was going to be mature about it. I was like, you know what? This is my changing point. I'm going to be better about this. That lasted all but a week. I was introduced to all sorts of alcohol and drugs, and not really introduced because I had already been doing it, but it to a level where it was constant. I stopped caring really about school very much. I kind of maintained, and I was out of control, period. And I had a lot of instances of abuse. I had a lot of instances of, again, the forcible, inappropriate contact situations that were obviously against my will. Times where I woke up, didn't remember what happened, but felt horrible, woke up in other places, had drugged drinks, had lots of different presented with drugs that I didn't know what they were, and I didn't care, and I just did them. And I really spiraled out of control, and I tried to fix it in the weirdest ways. And I think it was me just really just, throwing a piece of ham at the wall or a piece of spaghetti, whatever, at the wall and seeing if it'll stick type of thing. It was just, I was running through every option that was absolutely manic that I could. And I settled on being Wiccan. I settled on like this spiritual side of things. And at this point I was already so far from God that I didn't even care. I really was like, screw it, I'm a witch. Like that was going to be my solution from now on. I love this kind of like macabre, darky thing that I'd always kind of dabbled in like occult stuff when I was younger, like Ouija boards, and really liked that world. It felt very mysterious, and like maybe that's who I am. Maybe I'm this powerful, like, but I was at that point where like in my brain, I was like this god of a person. I can't even, it sounds crazy to me now to even express it, but that's the truest way I can put it. I was in this realm of my own. I was, again, so manic. I have moments of like not even being able to really remember even when I was sober in these moments, to the point where I know those of you who are listening won't be able to see, but I have like lasting tattoos from all of these different, like I have a bunch of them, like one behind my ear, and like different kind of like astrology things and all this spells and all this other stuff that I was really into. And I was doing it in earnest, trying to find covens. And like, I was really, really leaning into this very, very heavily. And there was a lot of things that were happening around me that were connected to this that just became increasingly darker. My entire world was just bleak. And I don't want to say like I had cupboards opening and closing around me, because that wasn't necessarily happening. It was more so just the absence of any light. Every moment of my every day was so low that any time I felt an ounce of happiness, it turned into mania. It turned into like I was so like chasing a high almost, of this happiness thing that is so unattainable to me right now. I have no idea why. It couldn't possibly be me. It has to be everybody else, and I'm whatever. But I drew so far away from other human beings, and it I so severely hated myself, but I couldn't think of it that way, if that makes sense. Like, it didn't occur to me that I hated myself, but I did. I was doing everything I could to sabotage myself.
Yeah.
Even if I was in a good situation
And
or I had met somebody, I would.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, for other people, like, how did you feel about other people?
Oh, I hated people, but I was manic because I wanted to be around people. But I could not stand other people, couldn't stand myself, really just kind of going through life. And I think that's why I was doing the things that I was doing. It was thrill seeking, but also I didn't care. I didn't care what happened to me at that point in time. And it was lonely, but that's what made me comfortable. Like, that's just where I was. And if anybody tried to extend an olive branch to me at that point in time, or if anybody, I'd screw it up. Like, I'd completely.
Did you screw it up on purpose, like sabotage it on purpose, or was it?
It was just automatic. My instant reaction to anything that happened to me that was good was to be manic and screw it up, or be mean or push the person. I would do anything I could to stay in that place of sadness and loneliness that it became a compulsion. Like, it just automatically happened.
That just said it. Well, and what's interesting listening to is if you've ever been around people who are in that space, I think that some people can make an assumption that, that's a mean person, that the way that they're treating me, it's all about me, when it has nothing to do with that other person. It's about how that person's feeling about themselves right now. And I think that we talked about this recently with regard to all of the people who are being canceled and this and everything else, or whatever. Oh, that person was this way to me, so therefore. But in realizing that sometimes people are in a dark place and they can't think about anybody else. It's
automatic. You don't know it's happening to you while you're in it. You can reflect on it later, which is, great. And I appreciate other people who are comfortable sharing their stories on the other side of it, or even while they're going through it, just if that helps them to speak the words out loud. Because, like I said, even talking through this now, it's like, what was my brain doing? Like, I really did think those things. I really genuinely thought, and I was trying so badly to, I don't even know if I was trying to fit in or if I was just trying to go through the motions, but I wanted to be around people, but I didn't like people. I didn't like myself. I didn't know that. It was a very weird, and now being on the other side of it, it feels like it went like that. But when I was in it, I was this is, I'm never going to be not this.
Yeah. Well, and the brain is still developing too when you're younger, and just how different we are. I mean, I think about myself back then, and I was very emotional. I went through darkness at times too. And it is different how you look at life and how you look at a situation differently once your brain is fully developed. But then, too, if people are taking drugs and doing a lot of drinking and all of that, and it does impact your brain, as it's developing. But I think it's not going to last,
It is right? temporary. But, if you want to change, and I didn't realize that I wanted or needed to change at that point, because I was gone in it. But the day that, God kind of smacked me upside the head, and there was a process to it. It felt overnight to me, but there, thinking back about it, there was a process to it. There were people moving in my life who I didn't know were moving that way and who were helping me without me touching the microphone. Sorry, guys. Who were helping me without me knowing that they were helping me. And they didn't necessarily know what was going on either, those people. And you were one of those people, which is funny because I was still going through it when I first met you. And there's a lot of people in my life who made me want to emulate them, made me want to be like that. Like, again, like I mentioned to you, you have such this like magnetic light about you. And there's so many positive people in this world who have that magnetic light. And I was in such darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw the light in other people, I was like, I want that. I want that so badly. I'm literally getting goosebumps because
Well,
that's how it
felt
felt.
it. I felt it with you too. I
Yeah.
felt that you were going through
Oh my
something.
God, I'm gonna cry because
I know, and I saw you. I saw you through that,
Yes.
And I mean, how long we've known each other now? It's been
2016 is that year, I believe.
Something like that. It's been a long time. But and that's, I think, the interesting part too is, I don't know. I feel people's emotion and spirit, but like when you don't know what an impact it could make on somebody. If you see something in somebody or even feel whatever it, and this is kind of a segue here or as, side note, but how many people that I've talked to too, who've shared that they, when they've been in a dark place and it takes just somebody being the light, somebody, there's times where even for me, and I tend to be, I've had my moments and but it's, my daughter and I were going through Starbucks line.
Yeah.
And there was this girl that was curly hair, the west side of town. Some people might know who she is, but she was such a sweetheart. And I'm just like, I just love her so much. We joke around, but it's like, I just love her so much. But, when you encounter people who are going through darkness and realizing that you can be that in even just that little example of this girl at Starbucks, she's being really nice to somebody, and elderly people, too. I mean, it's like they're lonely and all of these things, and they'll go to the restaurant because they know the waitress is going to be nice to them. I mean, they yearn for that, but so
it's interesting you say that too, because God is so funny with stuff, because there's been so many times in my life that I can think of that randomly, my husband and I were at the Cheesecake Factory once, and I was very pregnant. I was having a really not awesome day, which is why we were at the Cheesecake Factory. And this woman, this older woman, different table, just was on her way out and leaving. And shout out to you, Cheesecake Factory lady, if you remember this interaction, because it made my absolute day, and I burst into tears, and I wanted to follow you out of the restaurant, but I thought that would be weird. So thank you now. But she comes up to our table and she just puts her hand on our table and she goes, God told me to tell you it was going to be okay. He's like, I don't know why you guys, but God told me to come and tell you that it was going to be okay. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I looked at my husband and he was shocked. I was like, and she was, have a good day. And then we thanked her, and
she had no idea.
I was so stunned because I was like, I am having the worst day right now. Like, I was having an actual meltdown earlier in that day. I was having a very bad day. And I was like, these are the things, these are the instances, this is the light that, and I'm not even just saying religiously, right? That was something that's very impactful to me and very important to me. And, other faith-based people will understand that, but people who maybe aren't, can maybe relate to instances of somebody just coming up to you and, smiling or complimenting your shirt or whatever. I think it's crazy because unfortunately, we've lost a lot of that in society. COVID, and right now, and people are, I don't want to call people as it's in general selfish, but a lot of people are weary about interacting with other people now, just because there's a lot of darkness in the world, and you don't know which person is which, and it's hard because you don't want to invite that onto you either, and who's safe and who's not safe. But those little instances of little pockets of light.
I like that.
Yes, they're great for people.
Reminds you of like the clouds, and then the light comes through. There was
and then the people who are in darkness, like, I don't want to call myself like a fly or whatever to the light or whatever it is, but that's how it is. It's just like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was like, I want, and I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it was. I was just like, I need some of that. I need some of that. Yeah. And it forced it. That was God smacking me upside the head, because I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, here's what we're going to do. I made a plan. I did it. My life 180 so fast. I met Josh. Like my life, when I tell you, like I changed what I wanted to be in life. So I went back to school to get a different degree for what I wanted to do in my world, in my life. I met Josh, and it's funny too, because just little instances of my old habits and like how ingrained it was in me. I tried to, at the first part of our relationship, I tried to sabotage that too. I tried Josh. Things were moving really, really quickly. He was really, really sweet. And I knew there was something about him. I just knew. I tried to push him away. I was like, we're moving too fast. I was like, no, I can't do this. I don't want this. And thank God for the strong man that he is, because he saw
strong guy.
Yes, he saw right through that. He was like, you know what? I'm going to give you an hour, because he knew that I was being manic. He just knew, and that's how I knew that God had put him in my path too, because he just knew that I was just freaking out. I was just being manic, and I was, because I came back. I was like, you're right. It's like, okay, yep, nope, we're good. I just needed to freak out. And, bless him. He knows I still sometimes resort to the mania, and it's just like any situation. If I read too hard into a situation, I just spiral, and it becomes this conspiracy type of thing. And I do work on that. I've obviously overcome that for the most part. But I was so deep in it that it still comes up. And but then I remember all the the things that I have, my kids, I see the light and the purity in them, and that helps snap me out of it too, because it's I realize all the blessings that I have now are because I chased that light. I had to.
Yeah, you had to.
It was vital for me.
There's light and darkness in this world, and
darkness is inevitable.
It really is. And I think too, just what you put in your body, you put out, that whole thing, that it's like,
my mom will know this. She always said garbage in, garbage out.
It's true. And it's so funny. It's like, I would say to people, like the Bad Girls Club, I don't even know if that's, a show anymore, but like, if you surround with that negativity and that toxicity, then that's what you think is the normal. But there's so many different things in this world that we can choose to surround ourselves with. I mean, like, for
even
me,
just little things. Because another, again, my mom, she used to say, little foxes snare the vine. So like just these little things that chunk away eventually are going to consume you. It's just,
exactly.
That's what's going to happen.
Exactly. And it draws you in. Exactly.
Oh, it's magnetic. And it was a lot easier to give into those things and just be that than it was to claw my way out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and
it's very easy.
It is. And, but yeah, the being, and you're the light now, right? I mean,
I tried to be.
Well, I totally see that. And, but yes, in sharing your story today helps other people to realize that, okay, there's hope for me.
Oh yeah.
And you're turning it around into, I always call it the silver lining. God got you through it.
Yep.
And now you are helping others, and other people, they know you get it.
Yep.
It's not just words. And I think that's the thing too, is like you had said at the beginning of this podcast or the last one, where we're here not to be like, oh, here's how it all is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's experience, lived experience, and just wanting to talk about some of the tough things that people just don't generally talk about, but if you're listening and you're realizing, okay, I hear what you're saying, and the garbage and gutter, surround yourself, be around people who are people that can contribute in a positive way to your life.
And we said that in the last, in the mental health episode too, is if you are somebody who recognizes that somebody is in a dark space, bring them around positive people, help them out of that space, because nobody enjoys that. It doesn't fulfill anybody to sit in that darkness. And when I was in the throes, I thought I was having a good time. I thought I was, having fun, doing whatever I wanted to do. I was destroying myself. I was absolutely destroying myself. Now I'm having, I can't even describe how happy I am now. Like, just from the moment I wake up, just pure happiness. I'm not having to just do anything and everything to find that, and never actually find it. I just am. And I think that speaks to just generally being positive. And we keep saying light, and of course we're talking light and darkness, which does have, religious, ties. That's something that we're faith, women of faith here. But if you're not, positivity is still, it's just something that is a human. We
We're
need,
created that way to
yes,
need that.
we need community. We need, that's why kindness and gift giving and gift in receiving gifts, all that stuff feels really good in a better way than, I don't know, taking shots and falling down. You know, if someone really genuinely gives you the biggest hug and says, "Oh my gosh, I love your beautiful dress today. You look absolutely beautiful. You're glowing," whatever it is, that satisfies something. Because that's what I was doing. I was trying to fill holes with things that were temporary, that were not going to actually make me feel good, that were not going to be, because I didn't feel like I had anybody around me who was doing or fulfilling the things that I actually needed, because I was pushing them away. Because it was completely my fault. So seeking out things and being that person for other people, like we said, you know, just give. I know it's hard nowadays. It's hard to even approach people, and people are weird sometimes. But be that person in the grocery store. Just, I don't know, just give a smile, even, you know, to people. I think that's so much more.
Looking someone in the eye and giving a smile. Oh, that is huge. Yeah. That is huge.
Yeah. Or even just, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, I did that the other day.
Thank you.
Yes. "Excuse me." Sorry. That one was personal. Yeah. Please tell people "excuse me" in Costco. Okay. But genuinely being a force for good, is really going to help us cut through so much of this pain and anger and hurt and darkness. And it's everywhere. I mean, so many of us have mental health problems. A lot of us, even if we don't look like it because it doesn't have a face, substance abuse problems. A lot of us don't know we have substance abuse problems because we're just trying to self-medicate in any way that
and denying.
In absolute denial. And a lot of us are causing harm to other people unnecessarily when we don't maybe mean to or know we're doing it. So, I mean, do you have any advice on, or like, what actions people can do to be that positive person? Like, where would somebody start if they're like, "Look, I'm just going to mind my own business. I'm not, you guys are talking malarkey. I don't want to do this." Like, what do you think?
Well, we have different resources too that, and I think that's the thing is making that effort and just setting goals, little tiny goals, one day at a time, you know, of different things that you can do to try to bring yourself out of that darkness. And so I know some of the information that you had found too, that we'll put on our site as well to try to help people look at different things. But I think, again, just the fact that you were sharing today and realizing that this is something that is not that unusual for people. And, you know, and those of you who aren't maybe going through darkness yourself, you know, that point of being the light. But yeah, do you want to share some of the resources that you had shared?
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, everybody's journey is different. A big one that resonated with me here is don't give up, because I truly threw in the towel. I was like, it's over for me. This is going to be me forever. I hate my life. I hate everybody else. I'm just existing at this point until I don't. So I think that's the biggest thing is don't give up. Thank you for being here. If you're sitting there and you're really going through it right now, thank you for being here. Thank you for staying. It's hard. It's hard work. And like you mentioned, taking it slowly, manageable goals and tasks, and celebrating small victories. The smallest of victories, even you get out of bed that morning and you took a shower. Because I had days where I was like, I'm not getting, I don't care. And if you find something that's a light, a positive thing, I know we talked about this in the last one, making it a routine, making it a habit. Don't let go of that light. Keep going, going, keep clawing your way, keep taking any piece of light that you find and hang on to it. Don't let it go, because that's another thing that really, really helped me. It was any sort of, just any little thing that I could grab. It was just another drop in the bucket for me. It was like, okay, here's my light jar. It's empty. And then like, okay, I had this one. I had this one. And then I met Diane. Oh my gosh. Okay. And then I have all these things. And it was just like, and then all of a sudden my bottle was full and the darkness was gone. And, you know, not completely, of course, every once in a while it finds its way back in through a crack or whatever, but then I just find more light. And it is a battle. It's this constant battle with yourself, or if you're a faith person, it's a spiritual battle.
Yeah, you're changing your brain in the way that your brain thinks. And one of the other things too that is on the one list is practicing gratitude. I know that that is something that if you every morning when you wake up, if you immediately just think about all the different things you're grateful for. And there's one story I read before we wrap it up, and it was the Elizabeth Smart story, and she was the girl that had been kidnapped, but she had strong faith, and the terrible things that happened to her against her will as a very young girl. And I just remember vividly her sharing, like she always had that gratitude. Okay, I know that I'm here, but my family's safe and they love me. Those are things. And then there was this little piece of a tree that was like this little leaf that was trying to grow. And I remember she would just talk about, she couldn't go anywhere. She was chained up. And she said she would watch that. And she knew there was, that she knew God was with her too. That was the other thing that was just amazing. But she would watch this little leaf grow every day. And she knew that was, she was grateful for this little leaf that was growing. And I just remember thinking, wow, but there's always something that you can look outside and think, okay, the trees are growing, or there's the sunshine outside, or a roof over your head, or whatever the situation is. There's always joy, something.
Finding light in the small things, and celebrating the small victories. And just one last thing here is it's just treat it as a lesson. Every time that darkness creeps back in and you react in a way that you don't want to react, and you just, look inward. And something that actually one of my therapists mentioned that I thought was really, and that's something that I practice that really, really helps me, is take that feeling, take that darkness, whatever that negativity is, that energy, that reaction, whatever it is, and in your own head, make it its own entity and talk to it. Why are you here? What are you doing? What's going on, bud? Like, nope, wrong home. You don't live here. You go home now. Because you have to treat it like it's its own thing. It's a separate entity from you, and analyze it and send it on its way.
Yeah, you're facing it head on too, right? And not running from it or trying to
holding yourself
numb
accountable.
Yourself.
Just hold yourself
just
accountable.
Kind of ride it, knowing it will pass, but to confront it, I think that is important.
And taking it as a lesson, because I did that many a time. It was like just me doing something super, super mean, and then it was like looking at it, saying, why did you come up? Why did you whatever? Where do I need to heal? Where do I need to do this? And then going to that other person, being like, I am so sorry. So I mean, accountability, of course, but when you're in the throes of darkness, sometimes you just don't even realize it's happening until you're years down the line and you're fine. But I think that those are really the best way. And if you need an ear, or you need somebody to just listen, and you just want to get it out, our DMs are open. We'll never share your personal stories or your personal information, but we're here to listen. Again, we said this in the last episode. We're not experts. We're not therapists. We're just people who've had these lived experiences, and we're happy to hear yours. If you just finally want to say it, because I think that was something that helped me too. Is when I finally, for the first time, told my story. I finally
owned it.
I said it. I said it out loud, and it was just like, whew, burden off.
Yeah, and like, you're still here. Everything's fine. Everyone still loves you. It's like, all of it. You didn't perish.
Yeah, the shame I carried after I finally kind of was in a better space was like, I was embarrassed. I felt guilty. I wanted to go to every person and just be like, I am so sorry. And largely I've been able to kind of rebuild a lot of different relationships, which is really, really nice. And to all of you, shout out to all of you people who stuck it out with me. Thank you very much. Who knew that that wasn't necessarily the person that I was. Thank you very much. But
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And like we said, there's going to be resources on the site, so you can learn more and read more as well. And so just hang in there and be the light out there for everybody. Thank you for watching or listening.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.